Hello, welcome back to Everlasting Summer. Now it is time for Slavia. I didn't sleep well. I kept waking up for a minute or two and then dropping off again. I didn't dream much, just some grotesque images, forgotten by morning. Olga Dmitrievna woke me up. Wake up already. I got my eyes open and looked at her questioningly. What time is it? Late enough. My whole body ached and my head was heavy like a bowling ball. Pull yourself together and go wash yourself up right now. I stood up obediently, took my toiletry bag, and went outside. I didn't want to talk to the camp leader at that moment. The lecture was clearly coming, a hard one, but I'd better put it off as much as I can. After all, I always did things this way. Trying not to fall asleep on my feet, I somehow made it to the wash basins. The cold water knocked some sense into me. Maybe I should pay Slavia a visit? I still have some time left. Just to tell her I'm sorry. On the other hand, why should I justify myself? It was her idea, and what did I do wrong? Besides, once again getting myself into a silly situation where all the odds are against me. I took a deep breath and went back to Olga Dmitrievna's cabin, with the firm intention of proving myself innocent, or at least showing that I will stand my ground. But the room was empty. I sat on the bed and dropped my face into my hands. I need to come up with an excuse, now. A nice and believable excuse. If she won't believe the truth. Well, that's not surprising. If I was her, I wouldn't have believed it either. No, nothing worthwhile was coming to me. I was just sitting there gazing at the sunrise. The door swung silently open, and the camp leader came into the room. Olga Dmitrievna, I'd still like to explain to you that... No need. I looked at her surprised. I understand everything. So you do understand it wasn't what it looked like? Why, it looked exactly like what it was. I don't want to condemn either you or Slavia. I understand everything. Puberty, hormones, all that kind of stuff. I sighed tiredly and laid my head down in my hands. What do I need to say to make you believe me? Nothing. I said it already. I understand everything. You don't understand a thing, I muttered under my breath. Okay, head over to line up. I stood up and dragged myself lazily along with her. But could I at least pay her a visit? Of course not. The camp leader looked at me with such surprise as if my question was something completely inappropriate. I've already wanted the nurse not to let you in. Well, am I allowed to know how she is, at least? Well, it looks like Slavia is actually sick. I didn't manage to ask how serious it was as we reached the square already. Go and take your place. I took a place next to Electronic. So, what happened yesterday? He whispered to me. What are you talking about? Well, you suddenly disappeared. Well, nothing special. Telling everything to the entire camp was the last thing I wanted. After all, if even the camp leader got us wrong, then what would the others think? Though I've already started to think it's not entirely wrong. The entire lineup consisted of a roll call and announcement that the shower room is closed today for repair. Finally, the pioneers ran for breakfast, chatting happily. I miserably followed them. Frankly speaking, I wasn't in the mood for eating at all. After hanging around near the canteen doors for a while, I turned around and headed away. I don't know how it turned out this way, but eventually the infirmary appeared from nowhere in front of me. Looks like my autopilot just kicked in. I stared at the door at a total loss. They won't let me in anyway. What can I do now? Should I wait for Olga Dmitrievna's sentence, if it ever comes? Should I wait until everybody in the camp knows? And that's even worse. Wicked glances from everywhere, the alienation. That is what will happen for sure. No, I haven't done anything wrong, but in the enclosed circle of this bizarre society, such behavior would be treated, if not as a sin, then as a serious deviation for sure. And that means that I've already got nothing to lose. I knocked without any hesitation. Just a moment. I pulled the doorknob, but the door wouldn't open. It's locked. In a few moments, I heard the key turning in the keyhole, and the nurse appeared. Good morning, Pioneer. Hi, I answered confidently. Well, you know that you're not allowed here. Well, I do, but if you... Nah, that's not the way things work, she said playfully. A camp leader's order is an order, after all. If you ask me, personally, I don't find anything immoral in your behavior, but Olga Dmitrievna, maybe I can do something? No, you can't. I looked at her angrily, turned around, and walked away with theatrical slowness. I didn't know what to do next. I just pressed on forward, punching the trees that stood in my way. I recovered from this burst of rage only when my hands were hurting badly and my lips were bitten until they bled. And the most interesting thing is that all my unbelievable awakening in an unknown pioneer camp has turned into the most trivial life drama. A drama as stupid as my entire existence. Yet again, I did something wrong, I thought something wrong, and they got it all wrong. Fine then, just let everything be. Nobody was near the canteen. I sighed in relief and took a place in the farthest corner, hoping that nobody would see me. Somehow stuffing my breakfast in, I was about to leave already when Miku dashed up to my table. Oh, good morning, Semyon. I kind of overslept today. Can I take a place here next to you? She sat down straight away. Well, I'm kind of leaving already. Is it true that you and Slavia are like what? Oh, you know what I'm talking about? She stared at me closely, blinking her eyes. Who told you that? Well, one would expect the rumors to spread fast, but not that fast. I started to slowly go into rage mode. I heard it from Zhenya, and she probably heard it from Shitskov. You heard it from Olga Dmitrievna. I don't want you to misunderstand me. It's not my business, but if you don't want to, then don't answer. But if it's not a secret... You're right, I don't want to answer. I stood up and quickly headed towards the exit. It was a hot day. This amplified my anger since I don't like the heat. Right now, though, anything could drive me out of my wits. But I had to make up my mind now on how to conduct myself. I didn't want to run into anyone, so I went into the forest where I could think calmly. Having stopped in a glade, I sat on a stump, took a stick, and started to pick at the ground with it. If there's nothing that's up to me, all I can do is simply wait. But, in fact, what can I do? Assault the infirmary? Even if I succeed, what comes next? Try to bring Olga Dmitrievna to her senses? Hardly possible. Funnily enough, this whole enigma turned into a simple everyday situation. If it was happening in my world, there would be no problems at all. Come on, really? What's the problem? Even if I did sleep with the girl, who cares? Even if I was actually 17, even then nothing terrible would happen anyway. It would be slightly more awkward, but still tolerable. And now what? I'm not the master of my fate. Although, was I ever? Is there anything at all that was up to me in my entire life? Have I ever reached any peak that I was seeking? And now, once I've reached one, I can't hold my ground. Maybe I was just a spectator from the very beginning? My mystical appearance in this camp, all the local residents, all the events that happened to me, all that is just a weird game, and I'm only a pawn. Well, if that is so, I will still play out my role to my best. I got up and headed to the camp, prepared to take no prisoners. The plan wasn't completely finished in my head, but I'd made up my mind already. There was no one at the camp leader's cabin. I rummaged through the cabinets and packed up a sleeping bag, my winter clothes, a flashlight, and some other garments I found. I came out and immediately ran straight into Alyssa. Going for a hike? Yeah, for a hike. I reassured her. Well, take care. She gave me a sly smile and went on her way. I hastened my steps to the infirmary. The nurse is a human too, and so eventually she will go to lunch. I hid in the bushes, waiting. Time flew by fast. My thoughts have settled and I had a firm decision. I haven't thought my plan out beyond the first steps. I simply didn't care. The most important thing is that I act the way I think is appropriate, and whatever happens next, let it happen. At last, the nurse came out of the infirmary. She looked around and, noticing no danger, locked the infirmary with the key and quickly went towards the canteen. As she went around the corner, I got to the window in a few bounds and started to hectically knock on it. Slavia showed up soon. Semyon, what are you doing here? You're not allowed to. How are you feeling? I'm fine, but Olga Dmitrievna told me to stay here for another day. She told me something completely different. Okay, get out, I said with confidence. What are you talking about? What for? She asked fearfully. Get out now, I'll explain everything later. She looked at me closely for a while, but then opened the window without further argument. I helped her to jump down to the ground. Okay, what next? Let's go. I grabbed her hand and made my way to the forest. Oh, supposed to stay there longer. Slavia stopped a few minutes later. Semyon, just what are we doing? What's wrong? Do you think that everything was right the way it was? No, I don't, but it will be even worse this way. Why? We have a right to act the way we think is correct. Okay, but what will happen next? I haven't thought about it yet. Every step in my plan had gone quite well until now, but I wasn't keen on thinking even one step ahead. Take a look. I opened the bag and showed the things I took from the camp leader's cabin. And? Slavia looked at me inquiringly. I don't know. We'll stay in the forest for a while. Show them that our opinion matters. But that's stupid and childish. Well, if you don't want to. She gave me a lamentable look. I'll do as you say. These words gave me the creeps. As you say? Nobody ever said anything like that to me. In any case, I think this is the best decision for now. Alright. I laid the sleeping bag on the ground and we sat on it. So what are we going to do? I don't know. I've never been so close to utter failure. No, I wasn't questioning my choice, but indeed, I had no idea what to do next. What would you suggest? It would be nice to have something to eat. Have you brought anything with you? And that was exactly what I'd forgotten. No, I haven't, I replied slowly. That's fine. We kept sitting in silence. I wonder if they will look for us. Though even if they do, they are unlikely to succeed. The forest is big enough. But food. By the evening, I'll get hungry too. Okay, stay here. I'll be right back. Where are you going? To get some food. Maybe we should go together? No, I'll be right back. I headed back to the camp at a rapid pace, leaving Slavia alone in the glade. I'm absolutely certain that she won't go anywhere and will wait for me. I wish I was as certain that I'll remember the way back as well. Even if they haven't started to look for both of us yet, then surely they have found out that Slavia is missing, so I have to move carefully and try not to get noticed. In general, every single pioneer was a threat now, not only those who knew me. Such an obvious kidnapping will sure be known to everyone in no time. Okay, they're running away. Okay. And while getting to the canteen in a few sprints was not hard at all, I had no idea what to do next. I can't just walk in there like nothing happened. Are you hiding there? I almost jumped out of my skin. Oyana was standing behind me. Getting hungry? She stared at me. Come on, why so quiet? I was tongue-tied for a moment and couldn't think of an answer. So, why have you come? I was hungry. Just hungry. Oh, really? Yeah, really. Okay, I'll be right back. Much to my surprise, Oyana didn't ask any awkward questions. In the blink of an eye, she zipped out of sight through the doors of the canteen. I was wondering whether I should trust her and wait, or I should flee before she returned with backup. However, Oyana interrupted my doubts quickly as she reappeared in a couple minutes with a plastic bag in her hands. Here you go. The bag was full of buns and had a few packs of kefir in it. But why? Well, 'cause it's brave and cool. She smiled slyly. Best regards to Slavyana. Oyana waved goodbye and ran away. I stood there for some time in confusion, but then went back to the forest. It was completely unlike Oyana, but frankly speaking, I was thankful to her. In the end, I couldn't get food by myself during the day without getting myself into trouble. Upon getting back to the glade, I found Slavia sitting on the sleeping bag in the exact same pose. Here, I gave the bag to her. You got it so fast, she said excitedly. Well, I found help. Slavia gave me a questioning look, but I didn't go into details. We ate busily without saying a word. I sighed with satisfaction in the end. Good, really good. Yeah, agreed Slavia. What are we going to do now? Maybe you have any suggestions? About what? Well, at least about how to deal with the camp leader. I don't know. And are you sure? Yes, I am, I interrupted her. This is an act of protest after all. She must be aware that she can't order me. I stuttered. Order us around. Order us around. I feel like I said something stupid. Even if I was indeed Olga Dmitrievna's errand boy, Slavia was. You're funny. She gave a cute smile. We could just go and talk with her. But if you want to sit here and wait, I'm fine with it. I tried to talk to her. Are you sure you did it the right way? What is the right way? To be honest, I didn't know the answer. Such awkward talks were always something of an insurmountable task for me. I bet if I knew how to deal with such cases, things would go another way. Of course, since I was afraid and blaming myself, there was no chance to be confident. I don't know. Slavia burst into laughter. What? Nothing. I just feel like a princess who was saved from the evil witch's castle by Prince Charming. I looked at her carefully. While all this sounded quite romantic, I thought that what Slavia had just said was absolute nonsense. But generally, Olga Dmitrievna as an evil witch. It makes some sense. Yes, the similarity is definitely there. I said it, spelling out every word. And princesses are given no choice in such cases usually. Slavia continued in a cryptic tone. Given no choice? That's impossible. It's me who has no choice here. Just sit and wait until I get back to my reality by some miraculous chance. Does Slavia have anything in common with me? She is a role model pioneer, hardworking and beautiful. She has hundreds if not thousands of options. Probably this is the moment I've been dreaming about all my life. Such an unreachable girl, Slavia, not only sitting next to me, speaking and laughing, but completely depending on me. But is it a good or bad thing? And what should I do next? There were more questions than answers. When it's hard enough to make a decision about my own life and take responsibility for my own actions, how could I do that for both of us? Before now, I'd keep myself distant from such problems in the hope of everything resolving on its own, without my input. But I couldn't act this way now. And not even because of the fact that heaven only knows where and what time I was. You know, I could be wrong. Slavia looked at me inquiringly. We won't achieve anything indeed by just sitting here. And not just that, it's stupid and childish, you were right. And what should we do then? Let's go. We got up, I took the sleeping bag and headed to the camp, holding Slavia by the hand. Soon we came to the square, where Olga Dmitrievna was standing as if she was waiting for us. Long time no see, she said angrily. Do you have something to say to excuse yourself? Nothing to justify myself for. We have no reason to justify myself. Come on. I want to click the second one. We have no reason to justify ourselves. I replied obnoxiously. Okay, no reason to justify myself. Oh, really? Oh, okay then. So you think that all of this is normal? Fine. She paused for a few moments and turned to Slavia. Go to your cabin. I understand that you're not the one to blame. Slavia didn't move an inch. She just lowered her eyes and held my hand even more tightly. Slavia. As you can see, she doesn't want to. What did you say to seduce her? Oh my god, it said nothing. I started losing my cool. Why do you think we've done something wrong? We haven't done anything, at all. As if I haven't seen it. She grinned. So what have you seen? She paused, but continued a second later in the same tone. I've seen enough. Wow, you are so good at drawing conclusions. Getting a job in the secret police? Stop it with your rudeness. I didn't even think of starting it, I said sarcastically. Okay, your time is up, and I'm not willing to continue this pointless argument. You're grounded till the end of the session. Oh, really? And how are you going to manage that? I'll lock you down in the cabin. And what if I object? Olga Dmitrievna gave me a surprised look. It was just now that I realized the crowd was gathering around us. I could spot Lena, Alyssa, and Olyana in the crowd. What do you mean by object? Said the camp leader slowly. I meant exactly what I said. But you can't, a true pioneer. Well, that means I'm a false one. Olga Dmitrievna paused as she was pulling herself together. You think I can't force you? And how would you do that? I laughed emphatically. Ignoring the various mystical forces that I was at least concerned about right now, the camp leader indeed had absolutely no idea about enforcing anything. You know what? What? It looked like Olga Dmitrievna already understood that she had lost, but still couldn't admit her defeat because of her pride and her position as eldest and wisest in the whole camp. I'll send a report to your school. You won't be accepted to the constable. You won't be able to join the party. I had no way to respond against such serious threats. Accept it. You have no choice anyway. Slavia, who had kept silent until now, intervened in the matter. Olga Dmitrievna, why do you assume you're right from the start? Why is Semyon always to blame for everything? What's so special about what has happened? What have we done wrong? Are you even sure of what you are blaming us for? And if it was anyone other than me standing here, would you act the same way? Slavia, you should know that. That's the point. I know everything. I know you. I know that Semyon hasn't done anything wrong. I know you are prejudiced against him, without any clear reason, by the way, even though he is trying his best. Yes, it looks awkward at times, but I know he puts all his energy and his heart into it, and you're going to blame him just because he is the way he is. I was charmed by Slavia's monologue, listening to it without really getting whether she was praising me, declaring facts, or stating her opinion, which is probably prejudice. I guess her exact words flew over me. Just the melody of her voice was enough for me. It hypnotized and carried me away from this sick woman and stupid pioneer camp while calming and healing with my soul. Slavia! Okay, I don't know what to do with you anymore. Olga Dmitrievna, calm down a bit. But don't think that I approve of your behavior. She turned away, sliced through the crowd, and headed to her cabin. I expected a storm of applause like in American movies, but the crowd started to dissolve quickly as the show came to its end. And Liana just winked at me slyly. Well, you know, we kind of overdid it. I looked at Slavia. She was smiling. No, not at all. I'd be arguing with her until late at night and you'd yell at her in clear. I wouldn't get the right words like that even if I had an entire week to think. Oh, come on. What? That's the simple truth, not a trace of lies or flattery. She gazed in my eyes and burst out laughing. I just said first thing that came to my mind, and this is how it turned out. Your first thought is the right one. That's what your first thought is the right one. That's how the saying goes. I guess it is. I just noticed now that we were still holding each other by the hand. After feeling a bit awkward, I tried to pull my hand free, but Slavia didn't let me. This gave me the chills for a second. Where will we go? I had no desire to go back to my cabin. Strictly speaking, I didn't want to stay in the camp at all. What would you say if I suggested we return to the forest? Savia looked at me with surprise. Well, it's just sometimes. Okay, let's go. I wasn't expecting such a quick response and had no idea how to finish my sentence. I was just going to tell her about a feeling I get sometimes when you want to go somewhere outside of your comfort zone. At least for a while, at least for a couple of hours. I used to do this before quite often, visiting foreign districts or even neighboring cities. New places and sceneries calm my heart and help to realize that the world is not limited in my apartment walls or the daily route to university or the workplace. And thus there are people who are doing better or worse than me. And so my typical problems are not as bad as they appear to be. I suddenly smiled. What? Nothing, I just remembered. Never mind, let's go. We headed to the forest, still holding hands. Eventually we came to a glade, probably the one where we sat an hour ago, or it could be a different one, as I couldn't distinguish one from another. Here? Sadia gave me a questioning look. No, let's go further. Okay. After another half an hour of wandering through the forest, we came to a small lake. What a nice place. You're right. Sadia smiled enigmatically. Then I suggest we stop here. Nice place. I put the sleeping bag on the ground and sat on it. Sadia did the same. And what are we going to do? Wait, what are we going to do? Yeah. What are we going to do? I don't know. It was your idea to go in the forest. Into the forest. Yes, mine. I had to make a decision once again. Well, I had absolutely no idea what could we do. We could talk, for example. But about what? Oh, come on. Don't get so anxious. Sadia laughed. I'm not. I can see you are. Well, it's just because it's fine, as you say. I sighed and stared at the ground. Maybe you can tell me about yourself. Well, there's nothing really to talk about. It's impossible that there could be nothing of interest in a person's life at all. How so? I'm an example of that. You just... She hesitated. Could it be that you're not telling me something? Like what? I don't know. Like you're hiding something from me? But why would I? How would I know? You'd know better. Well, I don't. You said it like... How? Not right. Slavia laughed again. I'm sure that anyone but her would be not so calm here. Or so, be so calm. Okay, yes. Okay, but what do you want me to talk about? Well, tell me about yourself. Anything interesting that happened in your life? Right now, I was definitely sure that there was nothing interesting in my life at all. Okay, let me think. I made a smart face. When I was a kid, like 5 or 6 years old, I guess, there was a small hut near my family's country house. A solid one made from wooden boards with tar paper roof so it could be used as a bomb shelter in case of war. So one day I was sitting on top of it with somebody and suddenly fell off. And there were beds of strawberries behind it. And during those split seconds that I was falling, I thought, that's it, the Grim Reaper had come for me, and my entire life ran through my head, a life just 6 years long, but still. So I fell onto those beds and obviously didn't feel anything as there was plenty of soft ground there. So that's the story. Sadia laughed. But that's so silly. I didn't think so at the time. And what about now? I don't know. I guess it is. Fine. Tell me something else. You'll call that silly too? No, I won't. Eh. I started thinking again. Also, I once fell into a pond from a bridge and almost drowned. Your stories are all... Savia said in an annoyed tone. I told you, there isn't much to talk about, so I told you the first story that came to my mind. Speaking of which, the lake. Savia looked at the water. Let's go swimming. I'm not really fond of that. I don't even have anything to swim in. Oh, come on. She gave me a captivating smile. Well, I don't know really. Of course I was eager to agree, but I still hesitated. Oh, come on. Savia laughed and ran off to the lake, unbuttoning her shirt on the way. Well... I stood up from the sleeping bag and slowly headed her way. When I came closer, Savia was already splashing in the lake with all her clothes left lying around. Come here. Well, I'm not sure if I want to, I mumbled slowly. Come on, it's fun in here. She didn't seem to feel awkward about my presence at all. Well, I wanted to turn away at first. But here is the question, what is more appropriate here? If Slavia thinks it's okay and I act awkwardly, won't it offend her? But that isn't the most important thing now. I didn't bring any swimming trunks. I guess that wasn't the most suitable excuse at the moment. So, neither did I, Slavia said with the voice of a little quieter. Don't be afraid. I'm not. There's nothing to be afraid of. So get in. I didn't know what to say. I probably wanted to comply, but with everything happening some other way, not in such spontaneous, Miranda manner. And really, why is Slavia so friendly to me? Or is there something more to it than that? Then I really don't get it. It's up to you, she said disappointedly. Light the fire then. What for? Because when I'll get out, I'll need a way to dry myself. Oh, yeah, it's fine. I quickly went back to the sleeping bag, picking up branches on my way. Collecting firewood wasn't a problem at all, but how do I light the fire? I had neither a matchbox nor a lighter. Like every educated person, I knew that's possible to do it by rubbing one stick against the other, but I've never done this before. I had no other ideas. I started to drill one stick into another slowly. I was lucky that sticks were dry enough because otherwise I had no chance at all. Actually, I was quite skeptical about my chances, but after just about a minute, some smoke appeared and a faint fire flared up, dying out a moment later. At least it was clear that I could handle this way of starting a fire. It took me another 20 minutes of suffering, but in the end I had a small fire burning next to the sleeping bag. Yes, good job. I was throwing more sticks into it lazily. This is how it turns out. Man can adapt to anything, and so I could probably even survive in a snowy forest. My survivalist thoughts were interrupted by Slavia, who suddenly appeared right above me. Wow, you're good. I lifted my gaze and quickly turned away. She was wearing a shirt, but thanks to its dampness, it wasn't hiding much. It wasn't a problem in the lake, but it's quite different when she is close. One wouldn't get lost with you. Oh, Slavia sat with her back against mine. I hope it will dry off quickly. Somehow I was hoping so too. So what? What? I muddled. What? So what? What? It's with a muddled voice. Tell me something else. I don't know really. I felt like something was stuck in my throat. Storytelling was definitely out of the question. You've gotten so stiff suddenly. Really? Why would I? It's nothing, just... I had a feeling that I won't be able to just sit like that any longer. Animal instincts were clouding my mind. You think this is normal? What? Sitting like this? What's wrong with it? Seems like Slavia really didn't understand. Well, do you really not get it? I sighed helplessly. Well, I'm not really sure. Her voice sounded cunning. What do you think? Well, maybe we shouldn't hold back. Her words flashed through my head. She's giving her consent. Something wonderful happened between us, something that I couldn't even dream of 6 days ago. Maybe here it is, the reason for me being in this camp. That was amazing. Yeah, for a while we just lay close to each other. It's getting chilly. Hang on. I unfolded the sleeping bag and we got inside together. Slavia rested her head on my shoulder. Mind if I take a quick nap? I just feel so tired. Sure, go ahead. Soon her breathing became deep and steady. The wind quietly rustled the leaves on the trees around us. The grass was swaying next to us, and tiny bugs buzzed annoyingly overhead. Suddenly I realized this was the best place I had ever seen in my life. Thinking that, I fell asleep. I opened my eyes and saw the top of an oak roaring above. A strong wind had risen, chilling me to the bone. The full moon was staring right at me. Night has fallen. I couldn't really tell what time it was, but it didn't matter much. Slavia was still asleep. I tucked the sleeping bag around her closely, got dressed, and headed to the lake. I was really thirsty, and there weren't any other options available. Besides, I don't think the water here is poisonous. We're not around Chernobyl or anything. At least I want to believe that. I scooped up some water and eagerly dipped my face into my hands. The water tasted so good that it felt like it came from a spring, not a lake. My reflection stared at me, bored in the water and touched by the moonlight. It seemed to be smiling. Weird, I didn't even notice. Overjoyed, I headed back, fully intending to sleep until morning, and a twig snapped nearby. I turned to see what made the noise and saw someone behind a tree. Who's there? I called out, worried. There's no need to scream like that. The voice seemed familiar. I came closer and saw Lena. What are you doing here? Taking a walk. At this time? What, I can't? No, it's just strange. I leaned against a tree and pondered. She's definitely here for a reason. Besides, we barely made it here. You can't reach this lake on a walk. and even at night, Slavia sleeping a dozen steps away was in a clear view. And, what? Were you going to say anything? Am I supposed to? Up to you. I don't get what you're saying. Okay, we've been here for a while? Well, not that long. How long is that? Not long. Lena snapped. Alright, is that all? I don't know. We stood silently a while longer. You should probably get back. Slavia will get cold. So you saw? It was hard not to see? If you think that. Well, what am I supposed to think, huh? Seems as clear as day. I guess. So you're not going to say anything? What is there to say? After your show at the square today, words don't seem to be needed. There was no show. We just... It's like I'm justifying myself to her. That's none of your business anyway. Exactly. It's your business. Just be careful. Watch out. What are you talking about? If everything comes to you so easily, you probably won't value it much. Though you should. I don't get it. Well, like Slavia, bam, this time is magical. And then you do it another time and another. And then you get tired of it. Maybe. Lena paused. That's what I'm saying. You need to cherish what you have, even if you don't put much effort into getting it. If you think I'm treating this like a game, you're totally wrong. I don't think that. But it's possible. Besides, how about staying out of things that are none of your business? I'm just giving you advice. I don't remember asking for it. I think you should pay more attention to what you're doing and planning to do, so you don't feel any torturing regrets later on. Look, this is starting to sound like a threat. It really is. Well, maybe so. Lena said mysteriously. So you... No, not at all. Not now, to be precise. She added in a whisper. Lena turned and headed into the depths of the forest. I didn't stop her. When she was almost gone from sight, I noticed something in her hand blinking in the moonlight. What a strange girl. I sighed and returned to Slavia. The warmth of her body kept me from the cold of night. I hope I was keeping Slavia warm as well. I woke up with first rays of the sun because of the cold. Obviously, the sleeping bag was warm, and it hadn't had enough time to be covered with hoarfrost, but still it was a novelty for me to spend the night in the forest. Carefully, in order to avoid waking Slavia up, I got out of the bag. The fresh morning air finally dispelled my drowsiness, and the serenity of last night swept over me. I guess it was the happiest moment of my life. Intimacy, tenderness, love, passion, all those emotions interlinked in me during those short hours. I looked at Slavia, and she was beautiful. Her face was set in a motionless expression of absolute tranquility and peacefulness. I guess that's how angels sleep. As I had no wish to wake her up, I just sat down by her side and observed the way the morning began. Nature. The fresh dew, light wind, dancing tree leaves, and patches of sunlight on the water used to be yelling to me yesterday. The concrete jungles of a huge city were the only forests I'd known before. And if someone had told me that I could just sit and enjoy things like that, despite the night cool and annoying mosquitoes, without computer or internet, I definitely wouldn't have believed them. Good morning. I looked at Slavia. Morning, did you sleep well? Better than ever. Me too. She reached out and kissed me. The kiss seemed everlasting, and I just dissolved in her. An everlasting kiss in summer. Having breakfast would be great. Slavia finally spoke, letting go of me. Yeah, I guess so. Do you know what time it is now? No, but I think it's still early. I hope the canteen is already open. I'm so hungry. Me too. We got our things and walked to the camp, holding hands. The canteen was indeed open, and strangely, we were its first visitors. It wasn't a surprise that breakfast wasn't all that luxurious. Oatmeal, 2 eggs, dry bread, and watery tea. You know, I never liked the local food. Wait, you know why I never liked the local food? Me neither, to tell you the truth. Slavia laughed. But there's no choice. And it is quite good on an empty stomach. That's right. Unlike me, she was eating carefully. And I was dropping porridge on my shirt and spilling tea over myself as usual. Do you always eat like this? Anything wrong with that? I asked with a full mouth. She just laughed. Oh, no, not always, but it happens when I'm really hungry. Of course, I can be more civilized. Well, I can try at least. No worries, it's nothing. Soon we finished breakfast and went to the exit. Oh, no sooner had I noticed that we were still the only people in the canteen than Olga Dmitrievna appeared on the threshold. Oh, it's you. Well, I won't ask where you spent the night. So, is it? The camp leader was obviously embarrassed. Good morning to you too, Olga Dmitrievna, Slavia said with a bright smile. Yes, morning, morning. Okay, just don't forget to pack your things. We won't. What does she mean? Some hike again? I asked Slavia when we left the canteen. No. Today is the last day. Have you forgotten? Last day of what? Last day of the term. To say that her words struck me dumb was an understatement. How? Why? Why so surprised? Didn't you know? It was announced during the lineup. But even at those lineups which I attended, I was just sleeping on my feet. No. Now you know. Slavia smiled naturally. And what should I do? Her words stirred a mass of emotions inside of me. On one hand, I'll get out of this cursed camp at last. I might get some answers. On the other, I have just found something very important to me, and now I have to let it go? What do you mean? Oh, nothing. And when is the departure? In the evening at 5 or 6 o'clock. Well, still a lot of time. Yes, but I have some things to do. And I should find Zhenya. She might be worried, since I was absent for the whole night. Oh, well, worrying is so much like her. See you at lunch. Slavia gave me a kiss on the cheek and ran away. I kept standing at canteen's entrance. I had absolutely nothing to do, nothing to pack, so the only thing to do was to wander around the camp till evening and think. I would give anything to be able to empty my head for this 10 hours. A voice pulled me out of my trance. Hello. Electronic stood before me as merry as usual. You too. I replied absent-minded. You know, the whole camp is talking about you. I guess I know why. So you did it already? He asked, giggling. Do you really think that concerns you? Well, no, Then keep quiet. Moving along with the speculations, I walked through the square. Why does he behave in a way that drives everyone mad? Although it's probably just me he maddens. Just teasing you. I was completely immersed in my thoughts, not looking around, and didn't notice Miku until she bumped into me. Oh, sorry, I should be more careful. I was lost in thought and didn't notice you. You know how that happens? Oh, and hi. I looked through her and kept walking. Oh, Semyon, wait a second. What's up with Slavia? Tell me. It's so interesting. It seems that everyone in the whole camp except me knows about it. Not that I'm curious, but since everything is all so serious. Saying that she is not curious is like denying a universal truth. Nothing special. I answered without turning back, not curious at the same time, barrages me with questions. Well, if you don't want to. I tried to isolate myself from the outside irritation so Miku's other words passed by. The square scenery was soon replaced by the beach. Luckily, the juvenile gem of the Soviet pop scene wasn't around. I took a place on the sand and started gazing at the river. Why on earth is the whole camp so interested in my relationship with Slavia? In my world, nobody would have said a word. At least not out loud. At least you don't hear the things they say behind your back. For now, I was ready to endure gossip, just as long as I don't have to report to everyone about my private life. The sun was rising higher and higher, and I was nodding off. My eyes were already closed when I suddenly heard someone sitting down next to me. It was Alyssa. Congratulations. Meaning, don't you know? Yeah, it doesn't take an Einstein to work it out. To be honest, I'm sick and tired of this. Everyone here just has to mention it. Enough. And what did you expect? Is it out of the ordinary for the camp? I would even say it's exceptional. She laughed. And to show up at the camp leader just like that, even Olyana couldn't manage it. Me neither, probably. I didn't know how to respond to that, or whether it was a compliment or mockery. You know, you're making too big a deal out of it. There was nothing unusual for me. Moreover, I don't understand why you have to poke your nose into my life. Don't you think it's just my personal business and nobody else's? Maybe so, maybe so. Alyssa said mysteriously. We sat silently for a while. I wanted her to leave as soon as possible, but Alyssa was watching the pioneers on the beach, and it didn't seem that she was planning to go anywhere. So, what are you going to do next? What are you talking about? Today's the last day. Yeah, so what? Everyone will leave. So? And Slavia will leave too. And you will leave too, so? You'll break up. I know that already, thank you. Obviously. And what do you think about that? What should I think? I can't stay here forever. Of course you can't. But will you let her go just like that? No. I mean, what can I do? Frankly speaking, I really had no idea what to do next. My head was a complete mess. I'll be able to get out of here. That was the most important thing for me during last week. And now I have to answer a much more difficult question. How did summer romances end for common Soviet teenagers? And my romance was a summer one for sure. They just went home and that was it. They could live thousands of kilometers away from each other. In my case, in different worlds. It's not like one can come up with a decent solution for such a problem in a couple of hours. Like I know, it's up to you to decide. Alyssa grinned, stood up, and ran to the river. There was only about half an hour till lunch, so I slowly walked to the canteen. Pioneers hadn't managed to occupy all the free tables, so I was able to choose quite a good place, but to my regret, not my favorite one in the corner. I was just about to start eating when someone abruptly pulled out a chair at the table near me and took a seat. Hi there, how are you? It was Oleana, an extraordinarily polite version of her. I was fine until now, I sneered. Oh, come on, better tell me, what are you going to do? Eat, I sighed. I'm not talking about that. The session's over, you and Slavia are gonna part. What's next? It's like my future is a priority issue for all the local residents. Hey, what really is the matter? Just curious. Curious about what? I don't ask you what you are going to do tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, or in a month. Why do you have to get into someone else's life? I'm not getting into anything, Oleana said, offended. I'm not really good at all that stuff. True enough, you're still a kid. So, you've got to explain since you're the adult here. What should I explain? So, you're going to stay in touch through letters, right? And then you're going to go to this camp next summer together? Talking through letters. It sounds so wild to me. And I don't mean the idea of paper sheets and envelopes. I mean the possibility of losing Slavia for a year, or probably even longer. Or forever. So what? May I join you? I raised my eyes and saw Slavia standing near me with a food tray. Okay, it's time to go. Oleana jumped and dashed off to a far corner of the canteen. What were you talking about? You know her. What could we possibly be talking about? Slavia smiled. Took care of your business? Yeah, now I'm completely free. I can help you pack your stuff. It's not like I've got much to pack. Well, then you can help me with my stuff. Sure. That was the perfect opportunity for a quiet talk with her, although I had not the slightest idea of what I should talk about. Soon enough, we finished our meal and headed to Slavia's cabin. Everything in it was clean and neat, unlike an Olga Dmitrievna's cabin. Oh, I'm not sure what I should start with. Slavia took out her travel bag and started to rummage through a cabinet. Meanwhile, I sat on the bed and started to gather my thoughts. Do you have any plans for after the camp? What are you going to do? Well, you know. She raised her eyes to mine and gave me a smile. I'll go back to school. Yeah. And you? What about me? It's not like I'm really considering going to high school for a second time. Me? Well, me too, I guess. Although, I don't really feel like going back to my city. Seriously speaking, even I felt like going back, I had nowhere to go anyway. Why? Just because there's nothing to do here. Nothing at all. And there's no one waiting for me there. But your parents? My parents. Well, you know, they are not there now. But where are they then? They're sort of working abroad. Ah, so you're one lucky guy. She smiled merrily. Why? They send you foreign stuff and all. I wouldn't call my situation lucky as such. Well, anyway, don't be upset. She really looks like she doesn't understand what I'm saying. I'm not upset about it, and it was true. Then what's up? Many things. For example? Well, for example... I was about to begin a vast outburst about my situation and my wish not to have to part with Slavia when the door was flung open with a bang and Genya entered. There you are. Yes, we're packing. I see. It's a good thing I didn't come 10 minutes later or I would have disturbed your packing. Slavia blushed and kept on stuffing her things inside the bag anxiously. What's up, heroic lover boy? That form of address gave me the creeps. What? Nothing. She stared at me intently for some time. Watch it. Now more than just yourself depends on your choices. I didn't reply with those words to anyone left the cabin. What did she mean? I think you can never know for sure. And yet, well, I wanted to talk to you about it myself. I was able to start, but then... About what? Slavia looked at me carefully. It's just today we're leaving, right? Right. And we will move back to our cities. Well, yeah. And when will I see you again? Slavia grew thoughtful. I don't know. And I don't know either. But you could write me letters. She smiled, but her smile didn't bring me peace of mind. Yes, of course, but you know, that's not the same. What is it then? Can I go with you? I decided to take a chance and speak plainly. And what will you do there? Slavia seemed to not be surprised, but a bit vexed. Studying my parents. And what will people say? Wait, studying my parents, what will people say? Oh. Okay. I wasn't thinking about the opinions of other people, and to be honest, they didn't worry me much. Did she say both those things? Oh, okay. Well, we can always find a way. What way? We'll think of something. Semyon, we are too young for this. In fact, I'm not. So what? Maybe after some time. How much time do you need? A year? 2 years? 5? You say it as if. I don't know. She seemed confused. So everything that happened here was just a holiday romance? I started getting angry. No, of course not. Just... What? I'm not ready to discuss it right now. Let's talk about it later. When later? We have only a couple hours left until departure. Slavia said nothing and continued to pack her things. I'd expected almost any kind of reaction from her, but not this. In fact, she just pushed me away. It turns out she doesn't need to continue our relationship, so I'm not that important to her. Look, I still don't understand. What? Asked Slavia without turning. Why don't you want... And how did you expect it to be? Well, I could find a job, rent an apartment. And what can you do? Do you at least have a school leaving certificate? In fact, yes, it's lying somewhere in the closet. That's not important here. Why not? If you have a goal, you can overcome any obstacles. Moreover, they are not that big. That's what you think. Maybe you are right, but anyway, I can't understand your reaction. After all, if we just leave, that's all. It's the end. I didn't say that, but it's obvious. Where did you get that idea from? She shouted. Perhaps it was the first time I'd seen Slavia like this. Well, let me put it differently. I don't want to go back to the place where I live. And to communicate with you only by letters or phone, hoping for a chance to meet. It will be hard for me too. Well, what's the problem then? You know, not everything is up to us. Who is it up to then? Although no one would know how right she is better than I, it was all to me. I would have never found myself here. There are norms of society, laws, morality, ethics after all. What do those have to do with anything? Are all those that important? If they are not so important to you, they are important to me. Okay, I'm not even ready to behave according to your standards, but there is something more important. Maybe, but I can't so suddenly. You don't have much time to think. I paused for a moment to gather my thoughts. I can only offer myself, because it's the only thing I've got. Moreover, I don't know what might happen to me in an hour, but I'm sure that whatever happens, if I have to start from scratch, I want to start with you. You're speaking so beautifully, but imagine how I feel. For you, it's all so simple, but I have my own life that I'm used to, and to change everything just like that. I had one before too, I said softly. What? I'm saying it's inevitable. Changes are part of life. You cannot live without facing them. Slavia looked thoughtful, stood still for some time holding her bag in her hands, then came up to me, sat beside, and put her head on my shoulder. Oh, okay, I believe you. If you say so, then let it be. At that moment, I felt perfect happiness. It doesn't matter that a week ago I was in a completely different world, living another life. All of that is gone, and now it seemed to me like something wild or alien. I don't even understand how I could consider that normal. Now I am less concerned about how and by whose will all this happened. Now I'm not looking for answers. Why would I, when they are all right here in front of me? Now I have a long road ahead, hand in hand with the person I love. And looking back makes no sense. I could sit here forever, not noticing the time, but Slavia finally looked at the clock and gently whispered in my ear. It's time. Yes, exactly. You go to the bus stop, and I'll run to the camp leader's cabin to get my things. You're so disorganized. You should have gathered them in advance, laughed Slavia. I don't have much to pack anyway. Oh, they're so romantic. I looked out of the house and ran towards Olga Dmitrievna's cabin. The camp leader stood on the threshold, apparently waiting for me. I thought you wouldn't come. I didn't reply, just bounded inside, packed my winter clothes into a bag, and ran out. Come on already, it's time. In a minute, we stood at the bus stop, together with the other pioneers. Everyone's here? Began Olga Dmitrievna. You're leaving our camp today, and I'd like to tell you something in parting. She was visibly nervous and desperate at a loss for words. I hope that you'll remember the time you spent here for a lifetime, and that you'll retain only pleasant memories about Slavyana. I also hope that you became at least a little bit better, managed to learn something, and found new friends. Just come back next year. The camp leader turned away. It seemed she was trying to hold back her tears. Oh, I didn't expect her to get so emotional, but I completely agreed with everything she said. Perhaps it was the first time I didn't turn a deaf ear to her. I think I'll miss this camp, and even Olga Dmitrievna. Although, if this is the start of a new life, then why not come back here one more time? Oh. Slavyanok was far behind. The week had passed like an instant and come to an end, but that was the beginning of something new, my new life in a new world. Together with Slavia, the moon was shining, making everything as bright as day. Beyond the bus windows, endless fields were passing, on occasion dressed up in gray, but no less cheerful outfits decorating the distance with the dark green of the mighty forests. Anyway, the surroundings were the least of my concerns now. I was enjoying the moment. Slavia and I were sitting in the last row, looking at the other pioneers. Ahead, Ilyana was going wild. She was running through the cabin and shouting. Lena was reading a book and Alyssa was sleeping. Seems like the world is absolutely normal. And it doesn't really matter how I got here. If everything turned out so wonderfully, I became a different person, met Slavia. What are you thinking about? Life. And how is it going? Just great. She laughed softly. You know, let it wait a little. The bus is rocking me to sleep. I'll take a nap if you don't mind. Sure, go ahead. She rested her head on my shoulder and soon fell asleep. Oh. The imminent arrival at the district center and a new chapter in my life didn't worry me at all. When you are on the top of the world, small things don't bother you. Therefore, I fell asleep as soon as I felt tired, with no fear of anything. Wow, I like Lena and Slavia. They're both really good. There are dreams that you don't want to wake up from. It's like one is floating down a warm river towards a place far beyond the horizon, blissfully watching the vain world hidden behind the clouds. The past is left behind. Its echoes do not tear your soul. And the future is right here. You just have to reach out. It doesn't matter what is awaiting you there. The very process of immersing yourself in this fairy world of serenity and happiness is itself much more important. I've always believed that the universe was once in this state, and one day it will return to it again. Our life is just a blink of an eye, just a second in comparison to the universe. The birth and death of stars is a minute, and those of galaxies are hours. But even all of that, all put together, will not even be a day. Nobody thinks how to live each specific second, so does it really matter what each drop in a stormy river, running beyond the horizon of existence, does? I opened my eyes and stretched blissfully. I had no desire to stand up, as I felt I was in perfect bliss, muffled in a blanket. After all, I don't have to go anywhere, as usual, actually, and I don't have any plans. So why shouldn't I just sleep? I rolled over and stared at the old worn wallpaper covering the curved wall. I wonder how long ago the last time they renovated this room was. And why does here have wallpaper instead of bare wood anyway? Vague warning bells began ringing somewhere deep in my mind. I threw the blanket away, jumped up, and furiously began to look around. Yes, I was in my fight again. At first, I was paralyzed. The shock was so strong that my brain was unable to process what was going on. I just stood and gazed on the screen of the monitor on the table opposite me. I couldn't think. I even forgot to breathe. Finally, my mind began to clear. What happened anyway? I fell asleep on the bus, going to the district center. Yes, something like that. And Slavia was sitting by my side. And now I'm back here. Seems like during the week I spent there in the camp, I had gotten so used to the fact that I'd never returned to my previous life that now I just have no idea how to react to all this. After all, at first my main wish was to get home. But in the end, everything was like in a bad movie. At last, I had come back, but I am still shocked. No, I felt no fear. I was rather interested and upset. After all, I'd already made up my mind to start a new life with Slavia, leaving all my problems behind. Insults, suffering, self-examination, unfinished affairs, and plans for the future. Obviously, that life could not be worse than this one, at least. But there's no returning to it now. On the other hand, if someone had told me a week ago that I would be sent into a different world just like that, in the blink of an eye, I would not have believed him. So what makes such a fantastic event happening again so impossible? Moving my legs with difficulty, I went to the kitchen, got a glass of water, and returned to the room. The ice-cold liquid with the disgusting aftertaste of bleaching powder revived me to some degree. Now I have to decide what to do next. Suddenly I realized that I could not bear the silence. After turning the computer on, I launched a random song in the player and managed to calm down somewhat. And seriously speaking, what can I do? Recently I realized that absolutely nothing is up to me. By someone's will, I was pulled out of my usual world and then sent back. No answers were found during the week in the camp. What's the point in speculating now? I must forget everything that happened, like a bad dream. Maybe those were just hallucinations. I don't really care now. The only thing that prevented me from completely forgetting this short period of time of my life was Slavia. I recalled her smile and all the time we spent together, from the meeting on the very first day to the night in the forest and our departure from the camp. My heart furiously jumped inside my chest, spreading oppressive pain all through my body. I liked her at first sight. So gentle, caring, understanding. Just like that anime heroine. What was her name? The one who helped an antisocial fellow like me deal with depression. And if you think about it, there are no such people in real life. Slavia asked nothing in return, needed no encouragement, never expected to be understood or praised for her work. She was just being herself, a girl that did not exist in real life. If you think clearly, that's really exactly what she was. It seems like I've seen one single week-long dream. About the pioneer camp, Soviet teenagers and their camp leader, about warm summer nights and gatherings around a fire, about light-hearted children's games and simple human joys, about one moment that lasted a week, and that everlasting summer, but not just the scene. I've been there. I was a part of everything. My eyes unwillingly filled with tears. Not tears of pain or despair, tears of sorrow and bright melancholy. Even if everything is over, I experienced something that most people could never even dream about. Slavia's image flashed in my head, brighter and brighter. I would love so much for her to return from that camp with me. Maybe I have nothing to offer her now, but my entire life is still ahead of me. I guess I learned a lot of useful lessons from these events. I couldn't help thinking that it all seems too perfect, like it was written according to some simple plan. A loser hero, a fantastic incident, and a wonderful transformation. I guess it's not possible. Not in this life. Will I become the person I was before only a day or a week later? Well, it's the most realistic course of events. One thing's for sure, I'll never be able to go back. About a month has passed since I returned from Sovyanok, or to say it more correctly, since I woke up. I returned to my usual life as a loner, surfing the internet for days, going outside only to shop. As expected, it began to suit me again. Well, obviously, moments of melancholy and depression occurred. A person like me just can't do without them, but they lasted no longer than usual, except those times when, while sleeping, I returned to that summer, that mysterious camp. But after awakening, I tried to banish these thoughts as soon as possible. After all, what's the point in dreaming of becoming a wizard? Even if miracles happen, and I was proof that they happen completely independent of us. The word sweet doesn't give you a sweet taste, regardless of how often you pronounce it. But nevertheless, something has changed in my existence. Formerly, I didn't think ahead, didn't really care how long I would live, whether 1 week or 40 years, but now I looked forward to it with optimism. Not like I tried to change anything or to become a different person, but the world now seemed more understandable, not simple, not friendly, no, not friendly at all, but just understandable. Before, I just couldn't cope with some events or facts, though I kind of realized that they were there for a reason. Now I started seeing life as something simpler. What happens, happens for the best. Or at least it happens and I can live with it. And if I can't, I'm powerless in that case. I guess I started smiling more often, or at least I didn't carry that look of deep, universal frustration 24/7. Even my acquaintances, on the internet obviously, noticed some change in me, and their opinions agree that these changes are good. Now I think I'm ready to live on. Thanks to Sovyanok and its inhabitants. Without them, I wouldn't be able. Oh. It was the beginning of January. The city had barely recovered from the New Year hangover. The streets were almost empty during the day, not to mention the nights, when the only stranger walking down the street seemed extremely busy with some business, rushing somewhere for a reason that couldn't wait. I had no such reason, I just decided to have a little walk. It's necessary to get some fresh air sometimes. A winter's night is the best time to be alone with yourself. I always thought that true solitude can be felt in a crowd rather than in a burning hot desert, boundless plain, or on top of a mountain covered with snow. In the stream of people, words, thoughts, and aspirations, everyone had their own aim and direction, and I was the only one strolling among them, deserving no attention from others. Maybe they're like vectors, moving in different directions. They never meet at Cartesian coordinates. It's the same thing here. These people are walking, running in one direction, and I'm dragging along in the other. But did I feel lonely? Before, yes. But now, highly unlikely. In the bright, blinding lights of the city, the noise of cars, and the swirling crowds, I enjoyed a heavenly symphony of silence. But now the situation is slightly different. There's just me in the street, so I am alone not only within my own self, but within the whole world. Being a sand grain in a desert is not the same thing as being a water drop in an ocean. In the crowd, nobody noticed me. Nobody paid any attention, but now everyone who peeks out the window or see me while driving past will think, why can't he just stay home? Maybe he has some urgent matter. Suppose he's mad, or is he just drunk? I never like standing out from the crowd when it is not appropriate, so opposing society was never an option for me, but now it was different. As if I tried to tell everybody, look, I can be happy too. You need your TV and your hot chocolate, but I just need the snow, the night, a dark room, and a dull monitor screen. Look, and I'm not any worse off than you. I felt sadness in my heart, but it was a serene sadness. Do I really need the things that they have and I do not? Maybe I have something much more valuable? Oh. I didn't notice how I came to the bus stop of 410 route. This brings back memories. I sat down and rummaged in my pockets trying to find cigarettes. However, the packet was empty. Fine. I crumpled it up and threw it into the bin. Maybe I'll get healthier. A lonely star was shining in the sky. Today I read on the internet that, according to the calculations of scientists, one of the most beautifully astronomical events has already ceased to exist, and we'll see it only decades later. Maybe the star has already exploded as well, and now it is only a beautiful image in the night sky, somewhere near a lost planet on the edge of the galaxy. However, why does one or another thing exist? Is it simply because it's just there, has shape, and can be touched? Or is it because we believe that it exists? At first thought, the answer is simple. But on the other hand, even if the star is gone, we can still see its cold light. Maybe it helped someone to get out of a snowy winter forest, gave someone hope, or a bit of warmth to someone else. Could a simple astronomical object that exploded God knows when do all this? Can billions of people believe in something that doesn't really exist? But belief itself never made any object real, at least none that I've ever heard of. The snow fell and grew stronger. Now it was a real snowstorm. Midnight. Will my carriage turn into a pumpkin in a few moments? Maybe the return from Slavyana is the end of my own version of the Cinderella tale. Even so, is it really a bad end? Why, any tale contains at least a bit of truth. I remembered Slavia, stood up, shook off the snow, and went slowly into the night. I felt no sorrow, had no regrets. Maybe all this is just another episode of that tale, that warming dream, which I wanted so much to continue. Why can't it repeat if it happened once already? And what if I meet Slavia in reality? Oh, I like saying Slavia too, it's such a pretty name. Oh. Slavia. Oh, every story had its beginning and its end. Every story had its own outline, synopsis, contents, key points, a prologue, and an epilogue. And there's no book which, if you read it again, would not reveal new details you didn't notice before. Every story had its beginning and its end. Almost every. Wow. Oh, that was a good love story. Really good. Oh. Ah, jeez. He sure thinks about a lot. For the bad ending, that was still really cute. Well, okay. That was very important to him. Oh, I feel bad for him. Yeah. So that was a bad ending. I gotta get the good ending with that girl for him. Oh, he really needs her. Oh, that's so sad. Okay. Bye.